Hi, I'm Amy Reynolds. Welcome to Horizon Books, a business that's been in our family for over 50 years. We're hosting a program called Upfront Fridays, a casual conversation with your neighbors and ours. We hope you enjoy the show today. Hello, and on Upfront Fridays this month we're focusing on women, and we are very happy to welcome Heather Shumaker. So nice to have you here.
Thank you, Amy.
And you've been writing for a long time, and you have some that are you call life histories that are organizations or people, and we'll also get to your child care books. But you did this one, Aboard the Great Lakes schooner, school ship.
And that one's featuring the Inland Seas schooner.
And isn't that lovely? So history, and then I love this one, and it also segues to our next guest, which will be Susie Janis, but a colorful cast. And is it ever? It is about the art department at NMC, and Paul Welch was the focus of this, right? Who started the art
And the origins of the Denos Museum and just visual arts in the community. Yeah.
Yes, so you did a great job with that. And apparently you have a new one that's you've written.
I've been working with Elnora Milliken about the origins of the Traverse Symphony.
Yeah. So that would be great. So be watching for that as well. And the focus today, though, is a follow-up to the first book that you did for childcare, It's Okay Not to Share. And with that book, you had great success. You've traveled the country with lectures and promoting the book and helping people with maybe an alternative way of looking at raising children.
Yes. Yeah, we call them renegade rules. So taking a lot of what we take for granted about parenting and raising kids and turning it sort of on its head. And the new book picks up where the first book left off. It's a sequel, and it's called It's Okay to Go Up the Slide. And it works with preschool kids, but into elementary school. And some of the truths that we just accept and don't even question, it looks at, such as safety first. It does safety second. Don't talk to strangers. Do your homework, all these things that we just think of as, well, of course you do it that way. And looking at the research and looking at child development and saying, well, let's look at it a different way. So that's why they're renegade rules.
Well, I know, was it San Francisco, some of the bigger cities are building these playgrounds where kids can get hurt and dirty?
Adventure playgrounds.
Yeah, and I thought, well, what happened to the day when you just got on your bike out the back door and took off and got dirty on your own?
Exactly. You know, to me, we have adventure playgrounds right here. They're called the woods. They're called parks. They're called throwing rocks in the bay. That's adventure playgrounds. Just materials from the world that kids can move around, and there's no particular idea of how to do it. But you need time for that, and that's one thing that I get into a little bit. Is kids are so overscheduled that the families don't create that space anymore as much, and that causes a lot of stress that we see poking up in school and in behavior and at home too.
So are there studies that are bearing that out, that these kids, they don't have time to play? And
yeah, and adults are stressed too, but that's a different topic.
A sequel.
That is the sequel. Adults, it's okay to play.
Maybe.
Well, there's a lot of talk about play these days, but some of it's lip service because we get a little scared of true play. I mean, true play has ideas that might involve a child pretending to go bang, to another kid. And that scares us because we watch the news and we impose those ideas onto the child's play, when really, if you're looking at a 4-year-old doing that, they're thinking about good and evil, right and wrong. It's called morality play when they do that. And also they're thinking about mortality. They're learning they're going to die someday, and they're playing what it's like to be alive and dead. And so we forget some of this. They're in a different developmental stage than we are, and we kind of impose all our politics onto their play and try to stop it.
And you had some of this as growing up yourself. Your mother
That's
was
right.
teaching and living by some of these rules, right?
Yes. The inspiration for both these books came from an amazing, unorthodox preschool in Columbus, Ohio. And I went there as a child, and my mother taught there for 40 years.
Wow.
But it's such a different place, and they trust kids so much. They give them boxing gloves and let them punch each other in the face if they want to. But it's all partner play. It's not a conflict. So if the kids are having a conflict, they help them sort it out with words. But if the kids want to do puppy play, wrestling, or a rough and tumble game, they say, well, looks like you two want to wrestle. And then they let them do it. And the kids then will set limits on each other. So if one kid gets their shirt pulled, they'll say, "Did you like it when he did that?" "No." "Well, tell him to stop." And then she'll tell him to stop. And they set limits directly on each other, and they have a blast. Because you can't wrestle by yourself. Right? It's partner play.
Right.
And it's a type of play that makes many people, especially a lot of women, uncomfortable because it's not, maybe the kind of play that we would naturally do. And young kids have a lot of women in their lives. Elementary teachers, preschool teachers, babysitters, moms, grandmas. And sometimes we forget that their needs are totally different than what we might be comfortable with.
Right. And it's also like the daddy play where it's the daddy who's going to toss the kid up in the air and rough and tumble and wrestle and on the ground. And,
Right. And what they're finding, though, is that that kind of rough and tumble play develops the frontal lobe of the brain, which is where all that memory, focus, learning, impulse control, executive functioning, problem solving, I mean, those are the skills for academics. So when you see kids doing puppy play, you say, oh, they're getting ready for school. Okay. They don't necessarily need to sit down and do worksheets to get ready for school. They need to do the developmental skills. In fact, I was just reading yesterday that they're finding that children are having more difficulty with fine motor skills in school. Well, part of that is because they haven't had enough chance to use the big motor skills when they're younger.
And that is all developmental. You can see as a child grows that the big motors, I have to walk. They have to toddle, they have to walk. Get them out of the stroller.
Get them out of the stroller.
Get them out of the
That's the next book, right?
Yeah, it is. It's okay to get them out of the stroller.
It's okay to let them walk,
But it is amazing, even the title of the book, it's not all about playground equipment,
Sure.
But even on the idea of going up the slide, there's a lot of people that really bothers. And I think it bothers us because, I mean, if you put a child and a slide together, at some point the child will go up the slide because...
Don't you remember going up the slide and then you'd fall and you'd take
fall.
the kids behind you down and then you'd all fall up the slide?
So,
Off the top of the slide.
but adults who are very concerned, and many people are, legitimately, are concerned about awareness of others and kindness and safety, and those are all good things. But if you can help guide the kids if it's a problem. But I think a lot of times as adults we try to dodge that conflict. We anticipate the conflict, and so we try to get rid of the conflict. But really, the learning opportunity is to help the kids say, look, someone wants to come down. I see a child at the top of the slide, and you want to climb up. What can you do? And they will sort it out. And often they'll become playmates in an imaginative game that wouldn't have happened if, you got to go up the steps and down the slide.
Right.
But it's also a metaphor for the whole book of maybe swimming upstream a little bit on some of these things we take for granted.
Right. So I'm still asking the question, it's okay not to share, and then the next book. So what's the difference? And did you develop a theme, or are you really trying to address something a little different?
The next book is taking things still in the preschool years, but going into older years. So it's going up to age 10, a little bit older.
Okay,
but
so this is more preschool?
This is more preschool, but so many readers have told me that they use these ideas about accepting emotions and working out conflicts with their college kids and their spouses.
Okay.
So even though it's for preschool, a lot of their basic fundamental truths you could shift the ages.
So book 3. We know what that's going to be now.
Well, book 3, people have told me it's okay to crash the car for the teenagers, and I'm not going there.
No.
But actually, my next book does have a book contract, and it's about Great Lakes land conservation.
Oh, yay.
So switching gears.
Okay, all right. So Heather, this is the week of the launch of your book. It's okay to go up the slide. And we expect her here at Horizon on Sunday. It's March 13th from 2 to 3. So come meet Heather and take a look inside this beautiful new book. So as a beautiful segue from Heather Shumaker, author, who wrote a book here, which features a colorful cast. And Susie, you were part of this colorful cast.
Yeah, I was so lucky
Yes.
to work with Heather,
Yeah.
too. The whole project was with Paul Welch, and when he called me up, needed a little information, and then there you go with a native.
Right.
Yeah.
So it's Susie Janis, and you are here to focus, or to help us focus on Women's Month in Traverse City. And you have been a great community volunteer, a philanthropist, community-wide, Michigan-wide. I mean, you have just been so generous with your time and your
thanks.
talents.
Yeah.
And I understand you grew up here?
I did, and that's actually, that probably is where the whole thing started. The base personality, I would go as a young girl down to Max's Service and get a great big refrigerator box and drag it down the street to my home and then set it up like it was a desk and hand out these coloring things for the kids on the block and tell them that if they filled it out and brought it back by Friday, they could win a prize.
Are you kidding?
No, I'm not kidding. And of course, I'd forgotten about it by Friday when they all showed up, wanted their prize. But my folks said, you've really been into outreach into the community at a very young age.
I guess so.
And it started really as a parent first in the library for the children to see what's really going on over there at school and how they're doing and get that atmosphere. And then I was asked to help with the Cherry Festival and did that. And then over at the church and school at St. Francis, they had a fundraising thing, and it just sort of snowballed. But I looked at it like the children were in school, say from 9 until 3, so I had that window. And my husband asked that I didn't work when we were married, and I thought I missed it. So I had that time to fill in and have...
You probably did more work.
Yeah.
well, probably when you looked at it.
Absolutely.
And my mom was an extremely organized lady and passed it down to me, and so I could have the house cleaned and dinner ready and ready to go and be gone for those.
Pretend that you were home all day cooking and cleaning.
Yeah. So that's how it started. Anyhow. A lot of little enemies along the way, because by the time it was 8 o'clock in the morning, I'm calling somebody and they're going, "Hello, Susie." They're still not up yet, but ready to get it organized and to go. So.
And it's been 40 years of this organization and volunteer work.
Yeah, that's the scary part. Is that my girlfriend and I said the other day, my goodness, when we read newspaper articles and they refer to our age as elderly, we're like, oh, how'd that happen?
It's not true.
Yeah, but how exciting too, was talking to a friend the other day just about that, is that when you're in something, regardless of what it is, but some form of a project, you're in it to be in it and to meet the people and meet the goal and get it done. But now after 40 years, you're actually able to look back and they're still there.
Yeah.
These things are alive and well and healthy and going on. And
so you've done a lot. What are some of the things you're proud of when you do look back?
Well, the Dennis Museum, for example.
Absolutely.
That was a huge thing, because in the beginning they didn't even, there were some people who said, who would ever go to a museum in Traverse City, and we had some tree huggers and things, but but I do remember Shirley Okestrom and George Warden and myself had a desk like this out in front of the college library on barbecue day. A little sign there that said $8 million needed or whatever for the museum. And we had printed up some things. We didn't have enough. If we'd had a press there, we wouldn't have had enough to hand out to the people that were so excited for it. And I went back to the foundation board and said, guys, there's a cry out here in this community. We're going to do it well, and we're going to do it proud. So
and you have.
yeah, it really, really is. I remember the day that the first school bus pulled up there, and these little kids are coming there like this, not knowing what's going on. It's just so darn sweet, And they, well, I just bawled my eyes out, because I knew that their life would never be the same. And it wasn't, because they would write back thank you notes that were of Inuit Indians if they visited the stuff and seen it in the gallery and that. So very, very exciting. So that in particular was a huge project. There's other ones that that you do, and it's ongoing. Like I think I was the third woman to sit on the Chamber of Commerce board, which was exciting. And of course, look what the Chamber does in Traverse City for economic development and that.
And think of that, the third woman for this on this board of our gentlemen.
I think it was Joyce
So
Rogers was the first, I believe, and Mary Ball the second, and myself the third. And that was a big deal back then, you know. But I didn't think of it as that way. I had a really strong mom, you know.
Yeah, and isn't that great? What are your current projects?
Well, a couple of years ago, I started a little thing called the Get It Done Fund.
Okay.
There are there's several things that happen here in Traverse City that are opened and they're ready to go, but they're really still not finished yet. And one of them was the Perry Hanna statue that was down there that they'd gotten the money from the book and this and that. And I was so excited. Peggy had called me in and said, I wondered if you could help monetarily wise, that the Biedermans had come up front, and then proceeds from the book were going to help it, but that she needed other money. I thought, oh gosh, I got to go back out and ask for money. I don't know how to do that. And then I thought, you know what I should do is start something like that. So I asked a group of donors for a commitment of 3 years of $25,000 a year for 3 years. That's a big step up. But to go to specific projects for this type of thing. And so they were wonderful and beautiful, and they have, and we were able to complete that. And now we're going to be adding a nice check that'll complete the upstairs bathrooms at the Opera House.
Opera House.
Yeah, I'm so excited about that. So, so that's one of them, and there's some stuff in the making over on the campus there at the college, and a lot of times I may just go in, a nonprofit may call and say, would you come in and take a look at our board and see what's going on here, and to sit down and maybe rearrange it, or suggest that they may need a fundraiser or train the board type of thing. So,
oh, excellent. Yeah, with your experience.
Well, it's one of the greatest jobs in the world, being a volunteer, because you can call your own hours.
I know, it's great.
Yeah.
You do what you want to do.
Really like it. Yeah.
If you were to see some young women, and there are, who are forming some charitable organizations, and there's that 100 for 100, I think you put in $100.
Exactly.
So what is your advice to some of the other people in the community that are hoping to give? Or
Well, you'll get back 1,000-fold. And if all you have is $1 or $5, if that's all you have, that's the 100, that's the 1,000, that's whatever somebody else could write the check for. Don't hesitate to write it. It's still a gift,
Right.
and it's so well appreciated and put to use. I know so many people are afraid, like, well, I couldn't ask for money, they'll say, and that's okay. But I said, well, do you sell hoagies for your children? Well, yeah. Do you sell Girl Scout cookies? Yeah. So if you're in an area where your passion's at, then it becomes a lot easier. And even if you don't want to, you may just be the one that can stuff the envelopes for the mailing that's going to go out. And if you look at the Denos Museum, or look at Munson at the Opera House out at Interlochen, so many volunteers are there, selling tickets, taking tickets, docents, which is wonderful for people such as my elderly age now, to learn to be a guide there at the museum, which is gets them up, gets them dressed, gets them out, and
a purpose.
Exactly, absolutely.
So Susie, winner of the Distinguished Citizen Award a year ago from the Chamber of Commerce, thank you for being here. It's Susie Janis.
Oh, I appreciate it. Thank you.
It's been a pleasure.
It's nice to be here. Thank you.
And we'll be right back.
So I do not suffer from writer's block. Just keep repeating it. It will happen.
She never wants to have a big party. She wants to have a party for one, which is when she takes off her bra, gets her library book, pours some Inglenook over ice.
It really is like inviting people into your home. I mean, Fanny and Louis lived with my husband and me for 5 years.
Go out there and buy some books.
Welcome to On the Horizon, our personal picks of what to see or do in northern Michigan this week.
So kicking off with March 17th, St. Patrick's Day.
We'll be wearing of the green.
Wearing of the green, absolutely. I don't want anyone to pinch me.
Right.
And on that day, if you're not, in the pub crawl or something,
Right.
5:30 boater safety class.
Yep, and it'll be at the Traverse City Coast Guard Station.
12 and up.
Yeah, so you can be just a kid and getting out there learning about all that boater safety
we
before
both did
summer
it.
hits. Isn't that curious? When we were youngsters.
And then the International Affairs Forum, same night.
Yes. Yeah, you might not want to do both. You're going to have to choose between Boater Safety or International Affairs Forum. But the speaker is the MSU professor Martha Brill, and the topic is ISIS a threat to Central Asia? And this will be at the Millikan Auditorium, per usual.
And then also at the Millikan Auditorium the next night, March 18th, is,
Matuto.
Yeah, you're always afraid to say those.
Yeah, well, it is world music and New York City based, but it has the Brazilian rhythms, even some influence from the American South in the music. So it is world music, and it's going to be a rousing evening.
That's right. Up out of your seat dancing, right?
I think
Yeah,
so.
yeah.
Sure, good rhythms.
And then we were talking about the Moth Story Hour. It's going to be at the Opera House.
Right, and that's an NPR syndicated show, and very thrilling to think it's at City Opera House. It may be tickets are sold out, but you got to know about it and you got to try.
Yes,
So.
that's right.
And also same evening on the 18th, Songwriters in the Round at Horizon Shine Cafe, right here at Horizon.
And then Saturday morning, you can get up early and go to the hunting and fishing expo at the Civic Center. Yep.
Actually, it's 3 days,
Oh, no,
Friday,
it's Friday,
Saturday,
Saturday,
Sunday.
yeah, right.
But count on Saturday for sure. It's the longest day, so get in on the latest gadgets.
That's right.
Plus.
After you take your boating safety, you're ready to go fishing. That's right.
Yeah. And then noon at Horizon, we have Sister Mary Navarre, and she has written a book called Tapestry in Time. It's about the Dominican nuns in Grand Rapids, Michigan. Several stories of what it was to be a nun in Grand Rapids, Michigan after Vatican II. And Sister Mary, you may see her at the Moth the previous night at the City Opera House. So from there, she'll come here Saturday, noon.
And then at 2,
Yes.
Wolf's Mouth
Right.
author.
So John Smallens has written a lot of books. He's an MSU, or this is from MSU Press. John Smallens is actually a professor in Marquette. And this book is a novel, Wolf's Mouth. Stunning cover. I like it too.
And then Sunday, March 20th, the inaugural Battle of the Books.
Yes. Actually, I've been told this is a new Battle of the Books for Traverse City, but there used to be one in Traverse City.
Oh.
But it hasn't been for a long time, and this is sponsored by the National Writers Series. So it's come down now from 10, 12 teams to only 2 who will compete at Lars Hochstead that Sunday afternoon. And then New York Times bestselling author Twee Sutherland will be there to give the prize to the winning team of Battle of the Books, and then she will also do a presentation. So she is a children's book author, Winds of Fire. She has written under the nom de plume of Aaron Hunter for all of the Warrior series about cats. She's got 40 books to her name.
Does she really?
40, yeah.
Oh. Wow.
Yep.
No idea.
Yep. So she'll be, and that also will be at Lars Hochstead. It's a busy week.
It is a busy week. Thank you for watching On the Horizon. The participants in these events need your support.
Attend with enthusiasm and applaud with gusto.
Tonight we're going to explore the question, do we get the leaders we deserve? Is film influencing our culture, or is it the other way around?
What is it about humankind's fascination with the cosmos? It's the boundaries of personal freedom.
In democratic societies like ours, you have to get people to do what you want them to do, but they have to feel like they're doing it because they chose to do so.
Cymbre Foster, thank you so much for helping co-host today.
Oh, you're welcome. It was my pleasure. It always is.
Great guests. Thank you for watching, and we hope to see you at Horizon Books for next week's show of Upfront Fridays.
And remember, you could be Traverse City's most interesting person for 5 minutes. See you next week.